for joining us tonight for this fantastic time of celebrating poetry. And I like to think about it as like just so much wonder and beauty in the work of others. My name is Chris Crowder. I'm a poetry editor at the Adroit Journal. And along with founder and editor Peter LaBerge, executive editor Heidi Seaborn, and the rest of the Adroit team, we welcome you to the Adroit Journal's issue number 45 reading. It's again an honor to be here with you all. A special night for us where we'll showcase the exceptional work in our latest issue and also feature our awe-inspiring 2023 Gregory Djanikian Scholars in Poetry. And it's our 6th year of championing the incredible work of 6 emerging poets. So tonight we'll have 9 poets read, including those 6 scholars that I just mentioned. And I'll introduce everyone individually with a short bio before they gift us with their words. And I invite everyone to participate in the chat if you like after a poem or after somebody has gone through their work in the time that they've spent reading. So please show your appreciation in that way if you would like to. I'll be joining on in that. So again, thank you so much for joining us. Yeah, settle in, take a deep breath, and prepare to be moved by the wonderful poetry that we'll be hearing tonight. Starting us off for the night is the absolutely incredible Major Jackson. Major Jackson is the author of Razzle Dazzle, new and selected poems, which arrives to us later this year. He lives in Nashville, Tennessee, where he is the Gertrude Conaway Vanderbilt Chair in the Humanities at Vanderbilt University. Major Jackson is host of the Slowdown podcast. Major, thank you so much for joining us tonight and being here with us.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you, Heidi and Peter. And what an enormous privilege to read with the scholars and poets featured in this issue. I always look at table of contents as a neighborhood or community, and I'm so happy to kind of join up forces and read some poems tonight. Adroit, keep doing what you're doing. Such a national treasure. Thank you so much. I'm gonna read quickly 2 poems. I have 8 minutes. I'll probably take 5 minutes. Poem with borrowed image from Marc Chagall. Most days I am full of spacious meadows, golden fields of yarrow and lupine undulating in a veil among free anarchists. Most days I hold it together like the hairpins in my mother's head. Then other days it is as though I am floating sideways in a sour aquarium. Most days I have the faith of coffin makers. Most days I sit side saddle and blow fire. Then other days it is as though I am in a line of ants disappearing into a half-eaten peach. Some days I am a scholar of tiny differences and visit museums where I am a hostage to the visionaries whose indelible dreams arrive like ecstatic breezes, especially on the 4th floor, where I stair-step my way to the gilded halls and peer deep into the still lives of fruit and water pitchers and pheasants, which remind me, I'm told, of my mortality, except I would have included dishcloths and detergent next to a carcass of a rotisserie chicken. All suffering goes this way. We are poor devils made wise by the heft of our wrecks. Some days I scatter fistful of stars out of woods. And this is the poem that is featured in Adroit. It must be the supermarket in me. It must be the supermarket in me, all lit from inside, full of wide owls and thoughtful shelf stocking, where you'll find my feelings and memories. That's why on the outside, I look so ordered and put together. My inner supermarket contains an old world butcher shop with no trace of the slaughter. Shoppers arrive with an unfathomable hunger, which I relieve by offering freshness, quality, and value. Some are penniless and can only fantasize, licking their lips at rows of artisanal cheeses and meats behind glass display cases, the cloth-bound cheddars and goat at ropes of cured salami and prosciutto. Still, they taste. I offer free samples at stations throughout my supermarket, so people will come to know and like me. In the produce department, many test my pears and avocados for ripeness. In the floral area, they sniff. Some walk off with my bouquets. I contain cheerful baggers who will escort you to your car. At times, truthfully, I dislike this about myself, forever accommodating. I've not always had a supermarket in me. It began when the church in me lost its congregation and when I lost my mother's love to cocktails and other stimulants. There is no place for anger in my supermarket. I keep it in the back room with a sign that reads no trespassing, employees only. It's a way of being in the world, a self full of checkout lines and refrigerators until someone runs through me, knocking down my pyramids of canned goods or panic shopping, leaving empty aisles. Thank you, everyone.
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you, Major. Just so moved by many parts of that. In the first poem, the full of spacious. Oh my gosh, I'm losing my notes. Um, Meadows. That's what I wrote down. Full of spacious meadows. And the second one, um, the quality and the value and how the supermarket kept growing. Thank you so much for sharing your work. Um, Next, we'll be talking about and featuring the six readers upcoming who are 2023 Gregory Djanikian scholars in poetry. And before I read, I want to talk a bit about what this award means to us at Adroit and Greg Djanikian's influence at our journal. He was a longstanding director of the creative writing at the University of Pennsylvania and greatly impacted the Adroit Journal and its staff. And in honor of his work with emerging writers at University of Pennsylvania and around the globe, we at Adroit want to recognize and celebrate emerging writers who have not yet had a full-length collection published. And this year we received many packets, just all like so much incredible work from many people from around the world. And want to quickly thank everybody who submitted, everyone on the Adroit team, the readers and editors who contributed in the process of selecting the scholars this year. And if anybody would like to read more about the award and what our scholars program looks like, and our list of finalists and semifinalists, you can check that out on our website. The six poets you're about to hear have work that's just moved me so much and has stuck in my head. It's lasting impressions in my mind. These poets have the gift of leaving you simultaneously speechless, where your mind is like really blown and your mouth is agape after reading, and at the same time like you're speechless but you're also like cheering. You're just like, yes, this is just fantastic. So we know at Adroit that these poets are going to continue to make lasting impacts with their work. And our first scholar reading comes to us from Erik Jonah. Erik Jonah has work published or forthcoming in 5 Points, Ecotone, Foglifter, the Hopkins Review, and elsewhere. A non-binary writer, they're a finalist for the 2018 Francine Ringold Award for New Writers, were recently awarded a residency at the Mineral School in Washington. Erik has taught in the Bronx in Ohio and at a school for runaway and homeless youth in Eugene, Oregon. Thank you so much for being here with us, Erik.
Thank you, Christopher, and Heidi and Major Jackson and everyone. I'm bubbling with excitement and nerves. Oh, Sylvia, come on. You can sit down now, Hanbine, okay? Not right next to me, okay? Just right over here. Yeah, back in your chair. I suspected that would happen. I asked her not to, but too cute. I am going to be reading 3 short poems, and they're all part of a sequence. I've been teaching for 20 years, working with troubled youth, marginalized youth, queer youth, which I was kind of all of those. And recently I've been working mostly with runaway and homeless youth. So kids who've run away from bad situations, who are sleeping outside, some of them, or in the shelter, or in, maybe new moms who've gotten into housing recently, a lot of different types of kids. So all of these poems take place at the school. So you can imagine kind of like a shitty nonprofit. It was a tiny school, just 2 of us there. And in the morning, the sequence goes throughout like one day is the conceit. And in the morning, I would be like making coffee, checking in kids' weapons. They can like get them back at the end of the day, and stuff like that. So the first poem is called Breakfast at the School for Runaways. Every morning, I put on my sad gay shoes. Tuesday, blackberry smoothies. Angel has pink pepper spray, but Maddie doesn't bother. My body is a weapon. I wonder if the world needs me. Small seedlings near the window, the coffee cup on the concrete stoop. It must be carried, yes. It must be buried in the earth forever. I've been dreaming about superheroes, some kind of fucked up Justice League. Our flag is rainbow, and Desi swears so much, it's like they have a special power. When I ask, they tell me, smoke and crack. But if our powers were combined, if I divide the rain by 0, the traffic out front goes fast, big trucks from right to left, which is backwards, syringes, leaves, a squirrel comes back to life. When I say our lives are fucked up, my students team against me. It's the world that's fucked up, Erik. My bad. We're out of Sour Bright gummy worms, and when I turn off the blender, I hear the cough of someone throwing up their candy. So that's the first one, and it's coming out in Foglifter, which is really exciting. These poems are really meaningful to me because they kind of connect like some parts of my life that don't normally connect, like teaching and math and like non-binary identity and poetry. So this kind of intersection and having these come out together is really cool. In the second poem, what do I want to say about this? One of the characters shows up again. Of course, these are like names are changed and identities are changed, and some of the students are actually kind of autobiographical. They're based on my own experiences too. I also want to mention I try not to learn any life lessons in these poems, which I think is sort of a bad trope we've inherited. The next one is Lunchtime. Not a lunch lady. It should be enchilada day, but 2 kids OD'd over the weekend. Thursday's burgers resurrected. Man, what the fuck food is this? Hey man, I'm not a man. But Avon is. Desi is Avon now. Still curses like a sailor. Do I even know any sailors? Oh, for Christ's sakes, Boots, don't touch all of the scissors. Fine, just put them in the basket to be sanitized. Avon is down for a smoothie always, gives me shit for sneaking in spinach. Kids can't not touch the world. They put little boys in sailor suits, leave baby girls on a curb by the couch, or a curb by the church. 2020 though, a plastic hairnet on the cafeteria of life. I'm not a lunch lady, Avon, I'm a lunch them. There's this one student who likes to slap the sign above the door. You matter. High five or middle finger, maybe touching the hem of my garment. And down the block, an older youth is sifting fentanyl into some pills he'll sell as Molly. Sure hope I taught him fractions. They always do this. They're always doing this kind of shit. They can't just leave the world alone. I did want to give a shout out to Esbrook Korfman, whose prose poetry class I took, and who the very first poem was written out of that class. So kudos to them. Also, this last poem came out of a workshop with Catherine Pond. In this last one, the character of Angel, who had the pink pepper spray in the first one, kind of reappears. It's the end of the day. School is dark. This is the one that's coming out in the Adroit Journal. I thought I'd turn off the lights, but I wasn't sure if I had locked the front door. I don't know if you ever do that, and then you go groping back in the building. After hours.
What happened?
The school's darkness is a darkness that I know. Hand feeling plaster from the toilet to the door. Fuck, I did lock up already. There's an ankle in the street light, some older kid who's sleeping on the stoop. White sock I gave him? In the classroom, dust and worksheets, lumps of clay. Angel's mask is almost dry. Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. Black eye makeup, black heavy metal shirt, bone portraiture, a moody angel. Glue smell I want to sniff again, like chlorine bleach, a hot smell from the copier, though I'm not tall or dark or beautiful. Oh, angel, there are places I abandoned that are glad that I abandoned them. When I lift up the white mask, his contours fit mine, bone to skin. Oh, teacher pale, oh, moon, oh, clock and chalk and windows. Tonight I wear your face, my own, a little while. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you, Erik. I so moved by your poetry and love those moments, like the small seedlings on the windowsill, and all these conversations with the students and the intricacies of school, the signs and things in the cafeteria. So much to admire. Thank you. Our next reader and scholar is Willie Kinnard. Willie Kinnard is a Black non-binary poet, designer, educator, and musician forged in Newberry, South Carolina, and the author of the forthcoming Orders of Service, winner of the 2022 Alice James Award. His musings include surrealist portraiture, gospel deep cuts, Black folklore, and superstition, with words in or forthcoming in Obsidian, Poem a Day, Best New Poets Anthology, The Rumpus, and elsewhere. He is a Pushcart Prize nominee and a fellow of the Watering Hole Writing Retreat. Thank you so much for joining us, Willie.
Thank you, Chris. Also, thank you, Adroit, and thank you, Peter. Happy new moon, almost in Taurus, but it's technically in Aries. I'm going to be reading one of the pieces, or the piece that I got accepted into the Adroit Journal. It is a bit of a monster, for lack of better words. Essentially, I like Greek mythology, and I want to give y'all at least a little bit of a country poem about Greek love. This is considering D'Angelo's Send It On, Rhapsody, or Revelation, or Cerberus to the Fireflies. After Nicole Seeley, after Alicia Nicole Harris, after Lyrae Van Cleef Stefani. Ostinato, ostinato, ostinato. ostinato, 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 ostinato. It's a matter of fact. Repetition dulls the senses. Matter of fact, I'll prove it. Approximate how many X's utter the same thing upon leaving. Beautiful mind. Kissing my forehead and dispelling into past tense. In the void of presence, I thought there was more. Hope. I prayed. There was more. Chains. Trunks of my own forest fires. Ashen scents. Catching in my throats. Each musky regret. Rasping reminders that this was all there was. Yes, I begged. I panted the way Black boys gasp in being choked and finding God at the end of life. In the beginning, I would not call me pious. I would call me country. A backwood motherfucker enjoying the shadow of their own howling. In the beginning, I spoke and the dark rebelled. I sat and the dark rebelled, threatened to extinguish the light from the singular brilliance I housed in the jar of my own body. I spoke and broke open for brilliance. My pen pal, my own scattering conscience in the void of presence, embarked to assume multiplicity. Sure, my mind works as a hive, a clusterfuck of blinking moments trying to isolate loneliness. Funny, isn't it? How even compartmentalize means separation, means division, and yet means structuring against dissonance to make wheel of one's demons so convincing they mimic Old Testament angels. Yes, that'd be right to think I have no place amongst them. About a quarter inch away from ending the epilogue that some will tell my children of. When it is all done, and there be no more cinders left burning in my throat to call love by its name or beckon for joy in this song. If you be watching, one, baptize me by the barrel that held my moonshine. Across from the bucket that I burned my lovers in, buried my tongue in deep after kissing their dust and sending them on their way to meet a man that only promised them a one-room shack on the east side of hell, but swore to them that there was still room for good boys like us too. Put my pennies in my favorite niggas' pockets and send them sailing across the Jordan. And in the event they don't make it all the way there, feast. Shatter, my boys. Forward to the other side of the crowns they kept their paws on, their bellies bloated and striped as Christ from, and my eyes darkened. 4, rolling up in praise. 3, let my testament be the will to outlast my candles. Pour me into the mold of a beast that dare be braver, love harder than I ever did, stronger than the silences between me and everything I could interrupt. Dare live fuller every moment, flying inside my mason jars, glowing without knowledge of ending, but shining anyway, swearing noisily, without regret. I'd like to be this type of poet, of person, or perhaps that type, considering pronouns. One demonstrates their proximity to certain qualifiers. I'd like to rest knowing I did my best work, made someone believe their time was well spent, paid their aching distance attention to wrangle the obtainable. Yes, in music, they call this light return on investment a loop. The best performers decorate time with the most striking flashes against the clock. I'd like to be this type of poet, of person, or perhaps that type. Thank you.
Wow, that was awesome, Willie. Thank you so much for reading. Um, in the beginning, I spoke in the Dark Rebel. Just the myth in the poem is just so moving to me. Thank you. Our next scholar is Emily Lawson. Emily Lawson is a poet and PhD candidate in philosophy at the University of British Columbia. As a former Poe Faulkner Fellow in Poetry at the University of Virginia, she taught poetry and served as editor for Meridian. Her poems and lyric essays appear in Sixth Finch, Indiana Review, Waxwing, Thrush, Muzzle, Diagram, and elsewhere. Her Pushcart-nominated fiction appears in Booth. She is a stage 3 colon cancer survivor. Emily, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. And because you mentioned that, and because some of the prose poems I'm going to read do deal with cancer, I just want to let people know that I'm in remission and doing really well. So hopefully that takes the edge off some of these poems. So these are from a series I call Western, which are prose poems or dogs that are kind of about wilderness and the American Southwest and trains and danger. And somehow when I got sick and started dealing with that, this ended up being the place for them. And somehow the juxtaposition of like bringing something wild into what can be like a really clinical, passive change experience was powerful for me. And it means a lot to me to see these in Adroit, which I've been reading for many years, and it's such an amazing journal. Okay, this first one is called Passenger Car. So this is part of a series of train car prose poems. So I ask myself why I would so love a seat on the Amtrak, but not my bed in this hospital room. Both give abundant time to read, anonymity, kind strangers, constant glimpses of human goodness, plus worn down banality, used linens, food so bad it's almost charming. On the train too, there's a sense of shared pain, the kind of grace you can find in a nod passed between two patients wheeled by in their gurneys. Of course, here I'm intubated. I drag my tree of IV bags to the bathroom. Here, my intestines bloom from my abdominal ostomy when I laugh. Here, the tumor is bleeding. Nobody knows where the infection is coming from and won't plant my chemo port until the fever goes down. But I walked to the little window after visiting hours as it got dark and leaned on the sill. I realized I had not really looked, but then I was looking, and there was the Blackstone train station where I used to meet my friend when he lived in New Brunswick for conservatory, jazz. Lit windows blinking and darkening in the dormitory towers, headlights pooling at the intersection. The old metal train beginning to move over its black bridge, cutting a diagonal behind the tall buildings. On the train, the world expands around you with every mile. Here it closes in slowly until the illness is the only world. And so I have to remember all the time where I've gone and where I'll go again. Okay. This next poem is called Box Death Hollow Wilderness, and this is forthcoming. This is forthcoming in Adroit. Okay. Box Death Hollow Wilderness, Utah. I drove myself south to Escalante to backpack alone. On the highway out of Moab, a stranger called to say I left my wallet on the sidewalk. I doubled back, said thank you, started over. Familiar cliffs and stones keep me safe in their shadows, though really death is nearer here. I didn't plan for the dry riverbed, 6 worried, thirsty miles before reaching the spring in Death Hollow. Saying thank you as I filled the hot canteens. The cliff swallows dove in play before nightfall. Later, bats took on their patch of sky, slicing circles. I unfolded my tarp, shook out sand. After thumbing a ride back to your truck at the trailhead, I heard a long voicemail from the man who found my wallet. He couldn't stop thinking about me. I struck him as somehow vulnerable. It's true. I was a little afraid at night, at the way the tapestry of sounds can separate into components, each approaching through the brush of horsetails, coyote willows, never wanting to be found out there. Washing my face in a bathroom back in town, I saw each tag was torn from a poster for a domestic violence hotline. The town was barely populated. The streets were empty. A goat's rectangular pupils watched as I picked up a woman hitchhiking. She told me where it was safe to sleep alone in a car. We listened to music with the windows down. Okay, the next, well, okay, how much time has passed? Okay, I'm actually going to read a lyric poem that was published in Adroit and then finish with a love poem. That's a prose poem from the same series. So this lyric poem is called Exorcism. Don't suggest my tumors built by stress or some rot hiding at the core. I'm sure I could survive on spite. Still, I am superstitious, won't curse the thing. I speak to it as to an apparition. I see you. I'm listening. Your work is done. You can go. I sacrifice a foot of colon, some hair, my uterus, my appendix, my ovaries, my future children, already named. Take anything. The ghost can't care. Ghost of what? Carcinogens, mutation, mad chance. I wake up early, lying still, listening harder than I have ever listened. I'm 27. I hear sunrise, air conditioning, your breathing, birds, neighbor calling his dog, the chemo pump administering its slow poison into my chest, new leaves rioting in the light. Okay, and this last poem is a love poem, and I think both have moments of luminosity that come even when things are really hideous. This one is a love poem for my partner Shane. It's called Sand Flats, Utah. The tumor bleeds. My endometrium sheds perhaps for the last time for the hysterectomy. Blood pours from both my uterus and my rectum. This colostomy bag clings to my side, collecting feces and pus. What's more, the chemo turns all my fluids poison. My tongue tastes chemical. I'm supposed to flush twice with the seat down to protect you from my noxious urine. If we even tried it, you would be burned by my toxic pussy. This is all to say that I am hilariously unfuckable, extravagantly unfuckable, and still you want me. This is love, I think. This is the realest it gets. As you hold yourself above me, barely touching, perfect and whole, eyes burning. This is love anyone would almost die for. Love that comes at a price no one would ever pay. This celibacy, this waiting, better than sex. Except, I think, the night I had you on the open hills of red sandstone, a deep sunset in a windstorm, with jagged lightning, black thunder yipping coyotes somewhere, the wind whipping my long hair to a frenzy, my whole body lifting into space. But you held me down just like this, possessed, alien, godlike, looking at me, outside of time, burning with innocence, youth, the West, danger, longing, here again, about to catch fire, all of it, now and always, waiting. Thank you.
So fantastic. Thank you so much, Emily. Definitely felt that luminosity that you were describing and the presentness of each moment, like the goat's pupils. And there was a line where it's like I had not really looked, but then I was looking, and I felt that speak out throughout your poetry. Thank you so much. Our next scholar is Sarah Fatima Mohammed. Sarah Fatima Mohammed, daughter of Indian Muslim immigrants, is a 2021-22 National Student Poet of the West, the nation's highest honor for youth poets, and the 2022-23 Vice Youth Poet Laureate of Santa Clara County. She has been honored for poetry at the White House and has performed at PBS's Poetry in America, Carnegie Hall, and the San Francisco Opera House. Her work appears or is forthcoming in the Rumpus, Dream City Review, Rattle, and Wildness. Thank you for being here with us, Sarah.
Thank you so much, Chris. And oh my gosh, I feel like everyone's poems is still sitting in my head right now. But I'm really excited to read and really grateful to everything that Adroit has been for me. I did the summer mentorship a few years ago, and I think it really began a lot for me, for which I'm very grateful. I'm going to start with this poem. I've been thinking a lot about movement and place, and I think this poem traces some of that for me. It's called Fatiha. San Francisco, 2015. My father fiddles with the radio, sweat constellating at his jawline, until from the speaker blooms Quranic recitations, car heady with prayer, chorus of sounds, slow murmur, heartbeat of bare feet, voices tugged towards song, song pressed to the warm chests of my father and I. I too feel called to this first verse, how it leans towards the earth, bone deep, Arabic lilting, this language of devotion I want to learn. I want to learn how to say I'm here, to say I believe I do, to say my heart is with you only, to sing my heart. These nights we drive to the city of salt and small streets, and again I am writing the poem where I wonder what my father hears. If he learned the songs when he was young, when he spread his body over the heads of trees during the prayer call, my grandmother finding him at night, his head between mosses singing, my grandmother telling me the stories years later, the stories my father never told me, my father who listens now in silence, temple pressed to the cold car window. My father, who never says, I love you, or I love the city, or I love taking you to the city, but brings me still to the city where we drive past the song we don't know how to say to each other. The next poem I am going to read, I think it began a lot for me, and it was during a time when I wasn't returning often to my hometown in India, and I think it felt important to me to place myself there and navigate that space when I couldn't physically access it. And this is also my poem forthcoming in Adroit, which makes me really excited. On marriage. Next to the window in the kitchen, my mother thins my hair into a bun of smoke, smears cooking oil under my eyes, In this home, we aren't supposed to be beautiful, just enough. With longing fingers, I trace her small self, her figure sagging in a thin cotton slip. Instead of looking at my own body, I'm scared of understanding what I have become. Long ago, I would watch my mother undress and dress every morning while I thought about what a woman must hold beyond her burqa, what part of the body remains with her. She never stopped me from looking, but also never told me why red pools between our thighs each month, why we needed to stay home while my father ran barefoot in the rain. In the end, we are daughters who know only what our mothers have taught us. We step into our black burqas in front of men. Our bodies are drenched in silk, blooming and ancient. For the first time, I leave the kitchen, my mother coiling close behind to meet the gaze of my father. Before this, I've seen him twice, from a distance. Behind my back, my fingers scrabble. I want to touch the knuckles of the man who made me, but I am simply an investment, rupees given for my leaving. I wonder how long daughter has meant dowry. And another man, I name him husband, yellow tooth, dark skin like mine. When I leave to go home with him, he puts a finger over my shut mouth as if checking for a pulse. My mouth is not mine anymore. It is a door unworthy of opening. There is a reason why women in our family have never learned the word in our language for love, only the word for listen. And the last poem that I'm going to read is, again, about, I think, vulnerability and intimacy for me. As I've been thinking a lot about the ways that I want to give and receive care. Market, after Miriam Shapiro's father and daughter. My father and I crouch at the low tables where honey soaks in sun, in bottles shaped like glass animals. We both study instinctually the deepest ambers, honey glistening so darkly it looks blue, like lush nights in summer. We buy 3 bottles, honey clinging to our chest. We carry them gently, stroking their backs, my father and I not speaking except for our hands. Passing market booths, my father takes 2 of every sample, giving me olives and almonds flushed with sugar. We try soft fruit glistening in brine. We haven't come here in years, but we have come here. We have been here before. I remember last time being so young, I thought rib-eye meant a rib, like a fishing net filled with eyes. When my father palmed rib-eye to take home, I imagined being seen that way, my bones held and softened with the milk of eyes. I imagined, even then, my father saying, "I see you," mouthing the words before we drew away from the market, drifting apart and then home. Thank you.
So wonderful. Thank you, Sarah. I'm so moved by just the attention that you give to the images in the poem, like the honey glistening until it looks blue, and the musicality and the internal rhyme of your poems. Thank you so much. Our next scholar is Kelan Nee. Kelan Nee is a poet, educator, and carpenter from Boston, Massachusetts. He holds an MFA from Washington University in St. Louis and is currently a PhD student at the University of Houston. He is the winner of the 2023 Vassar Miller Prize for his manuscript Felling, which is forthcoming from University of North Texas Press in 2024. His poems appear in Poetry, the Missouri Review, the Yale Review, and elsewhere. Thank you so much for being here with us, Kelan.
Thank you, Chris. And thank you so much to everyone over at Adroit for putting this reading together and having me here. It's a real honor to have been selected as a scholar this year, and it's all the more amazing to have been selected alongside all these incredible poets and people. So thank you all, and thanks to everyone for being here. My mother is in the audience, which is very exciting and a little nerve-wracking. She's hearing me read poems for the first time ever. So hi, Ma, I love you. I'll talk to you soon. I'm going to read 3 poems tonight. It feels worth saying that there's some tough material in a couple of them. So, of course, do what you need to take care of yourselves. And thanks again. This first poem is forthcoming in Adroit. It's called Around the Sun. I've got a year sober. Still, I'm seeing things. Stars where stars shouldn't be. On an island with my mother in June, we walked, swam, cooked. I snuck out for cigarettes, fresh air, more honest than ever. I even took a shot at God, the only holy house on the island beside a lake, the color of burlap, getting lighter and lighter. When I went in, I didn't kneel. The priest took my shoulders in his hands, smiled gin and cologne, called me son. He didn't see the stars anyway, little constellations all over the earth. Later, I showed up at the bottle return with a sedan full of aluminum and glass, got in line to be redeemed, a nickel at a time. Home, my mother asked how many cans there were after all. She didn't deserve to have an addict for a husband and for a son. I gave her $13.65. My anger, senseless, cruel, I said, "You do the math." There were no fish in the lake when my father died, drunk and high. Mom kept saying, "God damn it, what a waste." There were only stars on the water, stars from the sky. This next poem, I guess all I'll say about this next poem is if for all my chicken lovers out there, it could be kind of a tough one, but bear with me. It's called Cathedral. I have a lie I like to tell myself. Once I walked up a hill, fog crawled, early spring. Beyond the electric fence where we kept them, a chicken in the grass with dew on its feathers. Its head was gone, and so was its blood. My boots found another, then another, until I counted 17. All headless, all dry, vacant. It was a weasel dug in beneath the fence. It sucked the blood and took the heads. We ran a line along the ground that snapped electric when the grass was blown into it. I don't claim to know where the weasel went. I know we lost some more. Boilermakers gone to disease, some drowned looking up in the rain. No animal got to them before we could kill them ourselves. But that's beside the point. The point is, it wasn't winter, but the trees were bare, and my mind was filling in the space where there ought to have been leaves. There were 17 bodies on the ground. It was a mess made not from lust or anger, but made from something more than hunger. The weasel wanted violence and got it, made it, then went to wherever weasels go to sleep it off while we threw the pale pink carcasses into a compost pile big enough, hot enough to turn what they were into mulch. The weasel slept and wasn't sorry. There's a lie I like to tell myself. The day came up and got brighter and brighter. And this last poem is forthcoming in Adroit as well. It's called Through the Glass Darkly. When I told you what my father did to himself, you didn't say sorry. That was all right, good even. Instead, I made the skin against your ribs go taut while you closed your eyes. You fingered the dark spot on my hip, said some people believe birthmarks show how you died in a past life. The smattering of small dots on your back like buckshot. Men were laying prone on the lawn drinking water. They could only guess what we were doing inside. Something tender in the way we tear each other apart. There's a part of myself that I'm trying to understand. Maybe it's simple. Most things are. My father wanted to die, so he did. We both want risk and then oblivion. We give it to each other and watch through the mirror in the other room. I ran the sulfur out of the faucet before filling you your glass. The morning sky here, so open, it's like an ocean hanging inches from your face. When we showed each other the things we'd done to ourselves, we laid silent. I'm starting to get it. Most days, they're just facts, and sometimes facts are only sad and true. We've left each other under so many skies now. You touched the scar in my face, and then my hip again, said the spot looked like an entire continent, or maybe the state of Tennessee. Thanks so much again.
Wow, that was an incredible, Kelan. Thank you so much for the way that your poems articulate understanding. Some of my favorite moments was the color of burlap getting lighter and lighter, and the stars returning in the poem with new light. Thank you. Our sixth and final scholar is Gabriel Ramirez. Gabriel Ramirez is a queer Afro-Latinx poet and teaching artist. Gabriel has received fellowships from Palm Beach Poetry Festival, The Watering Hole, The Conversation Literary Arts Festival, Canto Mundo, Miami Book Fair, and was a participant in the Kaolu Writers Workshops. You can find their work in publications like The Volta, Split This Rock, Vinyl, Acentos Review, as well as Bettering American Poetry Anthology, What Saves Us, Poems of Empathy and Outrage in the Age of Trump, and the Breakbeat Poets Volume 4, Latin Next. Thank you so much for being here, Gabriel.
Hello, hello, hello. Thank y'all for having me. It's been such a pleasure being able to listen to the other scholars. Wherever y'all are, I'm sending you all so much love. And everybody in attendance, can we just make some more noise for everyone who just read? Yeah, I am really geek and I don't want to talk too much because I want to read poem. But yeah, this first poem is going to be in the new issue. It's really important to me. And it starts with an epigraph by Nipsey Hussle, who unfortunately was taken from us on my birthday. So yeah. Too many chains need another chest. Nipsey Hussle. Herringbone. One for every parent, teachers and homies. Call this drip memoriam. 24 inches of gold say they on my heart, gone but never plated. Pay respect by paying for the real. Walk into funeral home, stillness. Walk into jewelry store, buzzing. Ancestors keep me shining. Pop's chain, herringbone, broken clasp, dented, blessed. See flex, see coping mechanism, retail therapy, or how I let you know who blesses me. Their promised cliche halos on my collarbone, heaven of my brain around my neck. I don't want grief looking good on me. Chains for every obituary. I don't got it. I'm deep in my bag. I'm mourning. I keep my dead on me. Since I thought I'd be dead by now, everything I do is fucking perfect. Morgan Parker. Learn your song. I survived. That's all there is to say about the trampling. A forest or some grand ecosystem of machetes hidden in cheeks. What a mouth, the beast of the beast. Everything I am can kill me or give another reason to operate from uneducated fear. I'm from where love is. Bones don't weigh a death. I need to have a word with all the gods that failed me. They wear masks and vernacular like those whose caskets I've prayed next to. They feed me pitted pomegranates full of smoke. There are no angels, just good people and the memories they become. Press your wrist to your ears, blow the world down, leave hope and learn your song. All I have are my lungs to breathe, my mouth to speak, my legs to proceed, and my arms to make my enemies fall. All enemies I've been fall. Now I will not hurt myself, but I will save myself even if it hurts. My body is learning to heal and runs on tactical forgiveness. The ones who lied to me, about me, on me, have been forgiven. How the wind forgives the large blade swung through it. How the blade forgives itself for being mishandled and chooses only to understand those who need weapons to feel bigger than their own body. In overwhelming space, I burn and there is no smoke. I excavate. I'm wrestling skeletons out of my mouth. I'm catching up with who I want to be. I'm staying day after day. I live, the harder it'll be to kill me. This next poem just recently got published in Muzzle magazine, which is another huge honor. I actually found out about being a scholar and Muzzle the day after each other, and you know, I just got to be a nerd and say these are my top 2 dream journals. So thank y'all so much. Yeah. Pops could come back and die again. Eventually, I'll tape baby's breaths to my wall from Pop's casket. Why delay? Pop's temper been haunting me. I'm growling out my sleep. I'm an empty chapel. I'm waiting for him to get up and leave. Usually, I'll pray louder than this. I never take off his gold chain. Amethyst crystals in river water under moonlight, and Pops still won't visit me. If I speak of Pops in the present tense, why don't I accept his ashes as his new body? I have no respect to pay. Pops could come back and die again, and I wouldn't know the difference between resurrection and wasted time. I never take off his gold chain. I rip out my teeth. Every extraction a failure to reanimate Pops, an entrance left unused. Learn not to trust anything Pops has said. When he says he has cancer, when he says he won't live much longer, when he says in his last voicemail, I love you, I never take off his gold chain. And yeah, I think this will be the last one. Thank you all so much. Thank you so much for listening. Yeah. Abuelo, I couldn't be who I am today if it wasn't for you being dead. It was time for glitter, nail polish, and locks. Glitter in my nail polish, glitter in my locks. You wouldn't have loved me loving myself. My joy rendered inconvenience. Stuck teeth keeping me your grandson. My love for the men in our family is complicated, but still love. Still me accepting who they are, how they may not accept me, abuelo. Show them the infinite possibilities tenderness allows. How the men in our family love. I would love to be loved by me. And I would be afraid to be loved by me. I'd say enough to keep, but never do enough to stay afraid to die alone like Pops did. Others' love for me has been what's left after forgiveness. I could have loved them better if I loved myself more. There's nothing I could hide from you, abuelo. You are no longer of your prejudices, and while I can still hold you accountable, I'd rather be held by your body of stars, your new understanding of life without the exhaustion of matter. Abuelo, mommy says I look like you, but I want to look like a man who learned to forgive himself. Orchids blooming up my throat. No man wants to sound like who's abandoned them. What song made us ask the wrong question? What joke made us laugh, closing doors on our true selves? Who would relive the moments that shaped them into what they couldn't love? All my glitter and tenderness makes me the only mother I won't get a chance to mourn. I carry my bright child face and tell myself, you will become me. Trust, sweet, sweet boy. Everyone dies on time. Thank you.
Wow, just incredible, Gabriel. Thank you so much. Yeah, just so much power in your words. The infinite possibilities that tenderness allows. Retail therapy, or how I let you know who blesses me. I'm from where love is. Wow, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next, we're going to feature two spectacular writers that are featured in our newest issue number 45 of the Adroit Journal. First, we have Saba Keramati. Saba Keramati is a Chinese-Iranian writer from California. She holds degrees in English, literature, and creative writing from the University of Michigan and UC Davis, where she was a Dean's Graduate Fellow for Creative Arts. Her work appears or is forthcoming in Agni, Michigan Quarterly Review, The Margins, and other publications. She is the poetry editor for Sung Dog Lit. Thank you so much for joining us, Saba.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. I've been trying to get into Adroit for a minute, so this is lovely, and I'm so honored to read alongside these really fabulous scholars. If your phone's lighting up, it's me following you on social media. I'm gonna find y'all. Y'all are great. I'm gonna read two poems that are I'm honored to have in Adroit coming out on Thursday. So thanks. This is The Return. I ask my father if I am covering my hair for God or for men, and he says government, which feels like he is saying both. The plane moves between thresholds, gazed upon and compelled, ruled and regulated. For months now, I have bled, lost an egg, and I must confess I still do not feel grown. I try to render each strand of myself invisible. In the airport, my aunties giggle at my caution. No one around seems frightened by the guards. Men here are the same as everywhere. The stakes, too. That night, I dream I am a child again and genderless, or at least innocent. Or maybe they are the same thing. My father holds me in the sea, and I laugh as each wave laps against my back. The nape of my neck is bare. My mother stands on the sand. Her long black overcoat seems to grow behind her, snaking against the horizon. This next poem is called The Dream, and it is an abecedarian, so it's 26 lines, and the first letter of each line is in alphabetical order. And I just have to say, shout out to phonetic Mandarin for that X, because that really came in handy. The Dream. Apples hang in the garden like fate, bruised by lies. There is a heaven only the good can reach. What sounds beyond possibility often is. Darkness leaks. The contract of hard work is not enough. Fathers walk through the garden plucking fruit for their children. Their children are greedy, even if they do not know it. How can they not be with all that was promised? I open my mouth. Instead of a scream, 100 jasmine petals take wing. My father floats on them to a kingdom where he is king. There are no subjects, only fruit. Lemons he can send to me when I am sick, plums for digestion. My mother ripples into view, birthing me. I feel her neck crane to look at me before I am out. I feel her heart sink when I am pronounced a girl. Feel the suffering, however quiet, that is to come. I am born again and again, reincarnated to the same self, the same fate. Snow is falling. The cycle of water means it will fall again. Tomorrow, perhaps, when I wake up, urging myself to remember this, my father a king, my mother anew, visiting the possibilities of their lives, wondering who they might be. I hear a whisper, Xiaoxing, have a small heart. There is too much to lose otherwise. Yearning is dangerous. A small breeze turns into a great zephyr. A door opens. Night pours out. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Saba. I'm so moved by all of your turning lines that grow like the apples that hang in the garden like fate bruised by lies, and the two thresholds gazed upon and withheld. Wow, thank you so much. Next up, we have Ashunda Norris, who will be our last reader for tonight. So thank you so much. Ashunda Norris is a Black feminist, multidisciplinary artist with creative work that encompasses film, poetry, archiving, and her own theoretical frameworks. Her art is preoccupied with ancestral inheritance, spiritual traditions of the Black South, futuristic maroon expressions, and fugitivity. A Cave Canem Fellow, Ashunda's art has been supported by the California Arts Council, the Hurston Wright Foundation, Community of Writers, Brooklyn Poets, and the New York State Summer Writers Institute. Her writing has been featured or is forthcoming in Obsidian, Taint, Rootwork Journal, Fence, Eco-Theo Review, and other noteworthy literary publications. Thank you for joining us, Ashunda.
Thanks. Hey, y'all. It's good to be here. I'm going to read about, 3 poems. The first poem is Forthcoming and Adroit. Super excited to be in the company of so many amazing poets. Gethsemane painted black. Guarded, governed, and alive beyond myself, I forego agony for meditative ceremony guided by magic. Messiah blood skin pouring from my eyes, I weep as 7 locks are cut off my divine head. If I judge my life by the way the Senate votes, I'll be dead and forgotten, a slope of matter anointed. Alice Coltrane's spirit piled high, I like my tea hot and stirred with cannabis. Am I the only one with an ache in my side from all this self-sacrificing? I regret it every morning, being in bars alone, reach for a prophet under siege, apart from the pillars I use to sweep up all these mere mortals, hiding truth from me. The next poem, Don't Be Afraid of Sex Appeal. Men talk too much in films, in general, actually. That scene in Crash, Terrence Howard blames Tandui Newton for existing as a Black woman. I keep thinking I'm gonna die every day. I got slip-tip nails, tits of piercing, and heat lusting. I don't wanna be ruthless. I wanna be sane, even after reckless decisions like getting drunk at a baby shower post-undergrad. My womb is not up for political debate, yet here we are in a world where Congress, of which only 25% of women think they can tell me what to do with my own pussy. Normalize leaving niggas for yourself just because you want to be the moon goddess you already was before they slimed up in your sphere. Newsflash, the church lies everywhere to every woman. When this society no longer requires I suffer is when I engage in rational behavior dealing with anything government related. On my count, I could have had about 7 husbands by now, but who wants that headache? Even revolutionaries beat women with the same fist they jam into the sky. So tell me, where the fuck am I safe? Night doctors or body snatchers or anthropologists in ivory towers saying the bodies of Delisha and Tree Africa are useful research entities. Why have we not burned this country into the 9th pit of purgatory? I come from a bloodline of madness. Raise your hand if you are a Black woman poet and people call your poems intense and angry. Black sons elicit intense devotion, while we daughters are left to fend for ourselves, wolves glaring down our weeping throats. We, a reduced pedestal on which we can never rest, wild, unmothered, wrist chain, seeking the joy ring. This last poem is forthcoming in Obsidian. It's called Hoodoo Manifesto. I am my own myth, a philosophy of cosmic origins, a planet, red clay, Nubian folklore, Kemet before Kemet, old tradition black belt, do my mainline work at midnight hours, spirits move, bewitching in a little wooden church, a saint, a building of refusal, fed till I want no more. Got a mama praying for me, mighty, a soul on fire, a leap in liberation, be open, free dreams of future, a return to past, which is now and then again the present, a galactic phenomenon. Bitch, all my grandma's egoon, a reign supreme with a cayenne pepper 9-inch machete, try me if you want to. I want it all back. I'm up in here taking all they land back, all they time back, all they peace back. Speak abundance over this lineage. Psalm 91 equals read it and see, been to the water, chilled my body, not my soul, life path number one. Other mothering be my child-free legacy. Everybody ain't worthy of me. Meditation time. I'm stargazing for sky people. Conjuring be you know if you know. Pay attention. In close encounters of the third kind, ships hover at the crossroads. Congo complete. None but the righteous shall seek my glowing face. See me apply practical knowledge, engineer my fate. Technology be in how I speak, Black and sure. Feds will see this and hear this and stutter. Doorway to my own nation, send messages over time. Gregorian clock, a scam I use to master destiny, more than a conqueror. A wild trap bee nesting, my very existence bittered. Sweet honey bitch plowing deep on Buckeye, magic doses daily. Motherboard be a gathering of healers. Church pews be spaceships parked. Hear my ancestors speak through whoever calls from Georgia. Message be God. Message be we flesh divine. Message be ain't no way but our way, your way. Move forward, come back home, stitch bone, fabric ancient and Black. Listen to your elders or they gonna be back riding you every night. Earth moves when I say hoodoo, keepers of the spirit, open the gate up. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Ashunda. The earth moved from you reading your work. I just really appreciate the truth that you just read for us, and those lines like I am my own myth and I don't want to be reckless, I want to be sane. Just thank you so much for reading and closing us out for a spectacular night of poetry. Can we get one more round of applause for everybody, our scholars and everybody who read, and for yourselves who are joining us tonight? Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to just be here with you all, and thank you for joining us in celebrating the work of issue 45 and our Gregory Djanikian scholars. Yeah, everybody, thank you so much. This will conclude our night. Be sure to read issue 45, which will release this Thursday. So coming hot off the presses very soon. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, and hope you have a great rest of your night.